Welcome to the all-in-one guide for your Uncle John's Recipes MycoKit, where we make growing mushrooms pretty damn easy. Before we do anything, we're going to want to designate a corner of our kitchen that is easily cleanable. Douse that area with 70% isopropyl alcohol. Make sure to get all the nooks and crannies that you usually wouldn't get. Remember, you can't be too sterile when practicing mycology. Alright, now that we're all good and cleaned up, time to see what's in the box. First off, depending on where you ordered your MycoKit from, you should see either a Spore syringe or a coupon to redeem one free Spore syringe from our affiliated culture company. Can't officially start until we have our Spore syringe, so go ahead and redeem your spores and come back when you have them. If you already have your spores, then let's rock. The next thing we'll find in the box is our sterile kit alongside 2 sterilized myco pouches. Underneath that is our myco tub, some sanitary wipes, and last but not least, our Uncle John's myco dirt. All these items are everything you need and nothing you don't to grow your own mushrooms. And with that, we'll kick it off with phase 1, the inoculation phase. In this phase, we'll be injecting our spores into our myco pouch, essentially planting the seed that is to become your mushrooms. The spores will become mycelium, and you'll see the mycelium take over the sterilized grain inside of the myco pouch over the course of the next 2 to 3 weeks. When it comes to inoculating your Uncle John's myco pouch, you can inject your spores in any which place that you would like. My preferred place of inoculation is behind the filter, under the loop tether. Before we attach our sterilized needle to our spore syringe, we'll want to give our spore syringe a real good shake for about 30 to 45 seconds. I like to tap it hard against the side of my pointer finger. The goal is to break up the culture inside of the syringe as much as possible so you don't have it clogging up your needle during the inoculation process. Carefully remove your sterilized needle from its packaging and attach it to your spore syringe. Then you'll inject through that cap anywhere from 2 to 5 milliliters. Repeat the same steps for your second myco pouch. However, before you do so, make sure to flame sterilize your needle with a soft flame or the touch of a torch. Once you have your myco pouches inoculated, you'll want to keep them in a dark and dry climate. In this phase, mycelium likes to be kept at around 72 to 75 degrees. Once the mycelium has taken over about 20% of your myco pouch, you can go ahead and gently break it up. This is what's known as a break and shake, and it expedites the inoculation process. At 2 to 3 weeks, your myco pouch will look something like this. Alright, now that we have 2 fully inoculated myco pouches, we're ready to move on to phase 2, the bedding phase. In this phase, we're going to take our mycelium from its spawning chamber, aka your Uncle John's myco pouches, and move them to your bedding chamber, aka your Uncle John's myco tub. For this phase, you'll need a fresh garbage bag. This garbage bag will serve as the liner. Cutting the perfect size is actually quite simple. You can just use the lid of your myco tub as a reference. You'll want it to be just a little bit bigger than the lid itself. Once you have that cut out, you can go ahead and thoroughly wipe that down with rubbing alcohol. Make sure that the corners fit nice and snug and there's no flaps that are overlapping into the middle. If you are having issues with it overlapping, then you can cut 4 notches on each corner and then tape up each side to make some nice little fitting corners. If it's not perfect, don't worry about it. Some people find this to be one of the most difficult aspects to the whole mycology process, so try not to be one of those people. Once you have your myco tub fully inflated and your liner in hand, go ahead and give both your liner and your myco tub one last rinse down with your 70% isopropyl alcohol. Remember, you can't really use too much. Obviously, you don't want it puddling because you have to wipe that up, but make sure to get every nook and cranny inside of your myco tub and liner. Now we're going to go ahead and insert the red plugs into each of the holes of your myco tub. Pro tip for this step, for a nice snug fit, press downward before you press in. Alright, now that your myco tub is ready to go, it's time to add your Uncle John's myco dirt. You'll want to use about 1/2 to 3/4 for your bedding layer. And we'll want to spread that around nice and evenly so we don't see the base of our liner. Now that we have a good even layer, it's time to break out our colonized myco pouches. Take your inoculated myco pouch and spray it down with some isopropyl. Before we lay our mycelium to bedding, we'll want to give our myco pouch one last good look over, make sure that our mycelium is nice, bright white, and there's no presence of contamination. But we'll know for certain when we open up our myco pouch. Once you know that your mycelium is good, we're going to go ahead and gently break up the contents of your myco pouch. You want it to get into nice little chunks. As many inoculation points that you can spread in your bed, the better. At the same time, you don't want to beat up your mycelium and bruise it too much, and that's what's great about the Uncle John's myco pouch. The Uncle John's myco pouch allows you to gently cradle and break up your mycelium into small chunks without bruising it too much. So gently break it up for about 15 to 30 seconds, and then you can pop the lid off your myco pouch. Feel free to smell the contents of your myco pouch for one last confirmation that you're bedding healthy mycelium. It should have a very good earthy smell. Any type of sweet or sour is bad. If you did notice contamination, then go ahead and place that to the side. And that's why we do batch inoculations, because the process can still be done with a single myco pouch. It might just take a little bit longer. But if your mycelium looks and smells good, it's broken up, it's ready to be sprinkled upon your bedding of Uncle John's myco dirt. Repeat this process for your second myco pouch, and once that's done, we're going to go ahead and put the rest of our myco dirt on top of our mycelium chunks. We can now use the rest of our Uncle John's myco dirt or a blanket layer to fit over the top of our mycelium. Make sure the majority of your mycelium is covered by that blanket layer. If some chunks are sticking out, that's okay. Ideally, you want a nice healthy layer covering all of your mycelium. And for the last step of phase 2, we're going to give our myco tub a good healthy spray down with some water. Distilled water is the ideal preference for mycologists. However, you can also use tap water in most cases. Here in Colorado, tap water works great. The ideal environment to store your myco tub will be dry, dimly lit, and have a consistent temperature at around 74 to 79 degrees. Now with phase 2 wrapped up, you're already halfway there. Check back in for part 3. During this time, we're going to allow the mycelium to colonize our myco dirt and eat up all the nutrients that it's providing us. So you'll have large and healthy flushes. For phase 3, we'll talk about everything you need to know for that first flush. And after that, in phase 4, we can talk about how you can continue flushing so you can yield altogether around 30 ounces or 3 ounces of mushrooms dried. Every flush and every culture is different, so there's no way of saying how much mushrooms you'll get from each flush. But a standard large flush be at around 10 ounces wet or 1 ounce dry. And that concludes our first part of Uncle John's all-in-one myco guide. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in phase 3.